Hello friends, welcome back to my channel. Today I thought it would be fun to do a little Q&A, not just about small business, but about my life, motherhood, and all the other things going on. I asked on Instagram a few months ago for questions, and much time has passed, but I finally have a nice afternoon to sit down and record this video. If you are new here, my name is Sarah. I am 34 years old, and I live in Calgary with my husband Alex and my 2 little girls. I currently run a small stationery brand called Sail Up Paper in my home studio where I am right now. And this business is now almost 6 years old. Currently, I'm home with the girls during the day, and then after bedtime or during nap time, I will work on the business. Life is crazy, feels very full, and though there are a lot of hard moments, I'm overall very thankful that I get to do this. And YouTube here has been a very fun outlet for me. Anyway, we have quite a few questions here, so let's get right into it. What are the biggest differences in raising a family in Calgary versus Toronto? So Alex and I actually moved from Toronto to Calgary about a year and a half ago, and both of us are actually born and raised in Toronto. So this was by far the biggest move we've ever made. At the time, we were moving with our 2-year-old, and I was very pregnant with our second child. And now that we've lived here for about a year and a half, I feel like I can try to answer this question. Life in Calgary feels a lot more slower paced, and I don't know if that's because we've removed ourselves from our huge community, but Calgary is also just like a very big suburb. There's a lot less traffic, and we can access everything downtown within 20 minutes, which is actually really nice. Our family has been a lot more outdoorsy since we moved here. We try to go to Banff 1 to 2 times a month, which I think has been one of the best parts about living in Calgary. The mountain access is just insane, and I find that there's a lot more diversity in the way people live and raise their families here. I feel like in Toronto, we were kind of in a bubble where we were all kind of similar to the people around us. Because we've kind of implanted ourselves into a new community, like even at our church, there are tons of people homeschooling, going to Christian schools, private schools, public schools, charter schools. It's just kind of opened my eyes to all the different ways you can educate your child. Cost of living is a big one. We weren't able to afford a home in Toronto, but we were able to buy our very humble abode here in Calgary. The other big thing is that Calgary is just like one big city and there's not much around it, whereas Toronto, we have the GTA. And so there was just like a lot more to do, whereas in Calgary, there's a lot more focus on the individual neighborhoods within the city. Sorry, I just rambled on. I don't even know if I answered the question properly. But the next question kind of flows into this one. Do you miss Toronto? I definitely miss Toronto, but I would say it's like 90% the people. I miss my family, my cousins, my friends. It's not like we moved to Calgary because we didn't like Toronto. We still very much love Toronto. We moved more for like the affordability and the opportunities here. The other thing I miss about Ontario are the lakes. I really took them for granted because the lakes here are freezing cold and they're high up in the mountains. Oh, actually another thing I really miss is the produce. Like in Ontario, I feel like we had a lot of like Ontario berries and apples. You can go apple picking every September, but the fruit selection in Calgary is a lot more sparse. Obviously, we can still access everything and everything's imported, but there aren't a lot of like local fruit farms or things like that. Okay, another big question is how is life with 2 littles? I feel like 2025 was probably the hardest year of my life. Having a 2-year-old and a newborn, especially living away from my family, we are now in a much better place. I feel like life with 2 kids is really about logistics. You and your partner have to work together to get through each day. And that's not to say you can't enjoy the day. Alex and I had to do like a lot of trade-offs with each other, maximize efficiency in our household, if you know what I mean. There was also a lot less time for myself, and it's almost impossible for us to get out on like a date night these days. Our kids are also at an age where they don't really play with each other yet. I'm finding it hard for me to meet the needs of my firstborn who wants to like sit and do activities together versus like trying to entertain my crazy 16-month-old who is just so busy and wants to explore and touch everything. But what I am learning is that if you give something enough time, like our kids are so good at picking up new routines and new rhythms. Like for example, the first time I set up Play-Doh for my kids, it was very short-lived and Margot was just eating the Play-Doh the whole time. And I really felt like I had to like help Charlotte figure out how to play with the Play-Doh. But by the second, third time, they just got into a rhythm. Like Margot does not eat the Play-Doh anymore and they're a lot more creative with the tools and they can actually make things. So I'm learning it just takes time. It's gonna be hard the first few times, but as they get used to doing these new kind of things together, it gets a lot easier. Our kids are also getting really good at independent playtime. So after every meal, they go off and do independent playtime. And lately, we've also tried to do more communal things as a family. So like before bed, we'll all read in our living room together for like 30 minutes. And that's been really, really nice. As we implement and try to be more intentional with the structure of our day, I feel like everyone just kind of thrives in that. It's very fun. It's very tiring, but it's just one of those things I know I'm going to miss in even a year. I love this next question. What are your top 5 most used dinner ideas or recipes. I can tell you my top 6 because these are actually meals we have probably once a week. We will always do a pasta, and my most popular one is grinding up a ton of veggies like zucchini, onion, carrot, mushrooms, and like really blitzing it till you can't even tell that they're vegetables. And then I simmer it with ground beef, some tomato sauce, a little bit of cream. And we have this all the time because it's one of the most effective ways to get our kids to eat veggies. We'll also always do like a Korean soup, usually something like karpitang, and our kids eat this up. Once a week, we also like to eat fish. And the most popular way I like to cook it is by just making salmon rice. This is like the viral TikTok recipe from like 5 years ago now. It's where you just mash up cooked salmon, rice, mayo, soy sauce, sesame oil if you want. And I like to throw in a little bit of avocado in there. And again, very popular with our kids. Actually, all of our staple meals are staples because our kids eat them well. We also do some sort of like udon or other noodle stir fry every week. It gets a meat and a bunch of veggies, including cabbage. I usually cook it with oyster sauce. We also use our barbecue every week, and we usually do like a Greek chicken or something like that. And then lastly, we always have pizza. I've been making the pizza dough at home and then using whatever is in our fridge to put onto the pizza. We bake it in the oven for like 10 minutes and it just hits every time we have it. Okay, so the next few questions are like small business related questions. What helped you realize the jump to a small biz was the right move for you? Obviously, you never really know what it's gonna be like to run your own business, but I think I was always kind of entrepreneurial. Like I always had a huge archive in my brain of ideas and things I wanted to pursue, but I also always had like a steady path. I did my undergrad, did my master's, and then I got a related job to my master's. There was no ever like space or opportunity to kind of like venture off and do my own thing. But if you know my story, we actually lost our first pregnancy back in 2020. And that was obviously like so unexpected. Like I was expecting to go on mat leave at my corporate job and just like continue working while mothering, but I ended up going on medical leave because of this loss. And during that time, I was reflecting so much on life and time and like, what am I really doing with my time? And I was also doing a lot of calligraphy as my hobby back then. So it was like a very spontaneous decision to quit my job and pursue this small business. I knew it was the right move for me because it was like an itch that I needed to itch. And I know not everyone has that itch. Like if you talk to my sister, she has never once in her life wanted to do her own thing. She loves having her full-time job. She loves her steady salary and she enjoys life outside of her 9 to 5, but she would not want to run her own business. So I knew that I was different than her in this way. Also, the more my family grows, the more I am assured that this was the right decision for me. And I feel like I'm building the life that I want. When did you first make a calendar? So my calendars are my best-selling products every year. And the first calendar I launched was in 2022. So I made it in 2021. It's something I wanted to do since the start of my business, but I didn't have the opportunity to do it until I was like a year and a half into my business. Wondering how you have decided to ship your products yourself versus a drop shipping service. Thanks. So if you're not familiar, and I'm not that familiar either, but drop shipping is when your manufacturer ships your products as well. So there's a lot of companies out there where you upload your designs and they'll do all the printing on your products, they'll store them, and then when customers place an order, it directly notifies them and then they can ship it off directly to the customer. I don't think I've ever considered drop shipping because I'm a control freak. I actually like being able to be part of the entire process, designing it, failing at manufacturing it, trying again, like having the actual physical product in my home and then packaging it up myself. It's a lot more laborious. It's very time intensive, but like this is what I signed up for. I want to have a product-based business. I feel like I'm learning so much by doing it all myself. I'm also saving on the cost of having the middleman. And I also feel like drop shipping might create some sort of like distance between me and my customers. Whereas right now, I really like directly communicating with my customers and actually packaging this order for Katie. Like that really brings me joy. I might consider dropshipping in the future, especially as my time and my needs change. But for now, I am controlling everything. Okay, I also got a lot of questions on manufacturing. Now, this is a whole topic I need to cover in another video because it is a very common question, and I just want to politely say that I do not disclose any of my manufacturers. To keep it brief, keeping supplier information private is protecting my business, and it's also my competitive advantage. It takes so much time, so much money, and it's not public information. Restaurants don't have to share their recipes. Big companies do not need to publicly disclose like their factories. I really believe that small businesses businesses should also do the same and protect their like intellectual property. I feel like a lot of people that ask either just don't know how much time and effort it takes, and maybe they think it's like a quick Google search, but there really have been no shortcuts for me. I am still trying to source suppliers, and it's probably the hardest part of my business. So just easily giving that away is something I'm not going to do. What I will do though is continue making these kind of videos and sharing my advice or tips or lessons learned, and I think that's very valuable too. Okay, I have 3 more miscellaneous questions. What is my MBTI and Alex's? This is like the Myers-Briggs personality test. I think we've been pretty consistent. I am an ESFP. I'm extroverted, sensing, feeling, and perceiving. The archetype is the entertainer. They can be found spontaneously breaking into song and dance, which is true. They get caught up in the excitement of the moment and want everyone else to feel that way too. I really resonate with this. And actually the weaknesses I really resonate with too. It says here, I am sensitive, conflict averse, easily bored, poor long-term planners, and unfocused. And yes, all 5 are pretty much true. Alex is an ISFJ, which is the defender. And this is so on the mark too. These people tend to be warm and unassuming in their own steady way. They're efficient and responsible, giving careful attention to practical details in their daily lives. I think we complement each other well. What is something you do solely to treat yourself? I had a hard time answering this question because lately it feels like everything I do is just trying to maximize my time. We don't really get a lot of time to ourselves. We're also in a season where we're trying to pay off debt, but this question did remind me that treating myself is not always indulgent. It can just be something that's like restorative to me, right? Realistically, the kids are down by 8 p.m. every night, and this is like a very, very nice time of our day. A few times a week, I try to go into bed early with a cup of tea and a book, and that has been so nice. I also do get out by myself quite often. Like some evenings I'll go shopping with my sister, or I'll go thrifting by myself. Like that really feels like a treat. Alex knows I love solo coffee dates in the morning, so I have done that a few times. But honestly, I think I treat myself a lot in the little ways throughout the day. Like I love looking forward to my morning coffee, my afternoon coffee. I love reorganizing my furniture once a month. Like that makes me feel like so refreshed. And we also love eating out and ordering takeout. Maybe like once a week we'll do this, and that really feels like a treat. Alex and I look forward to it, and it also gives me a break from cooking and cleaning. Nothing crazy, but I actually don't feel like I'm depriving myself of anything right now, except maybe manicures. I would love to get regular manicures, but it is just not a priority right now. Okay, and lastly, any travel plans? We went to Korea like 6 months ago. I feel like we don't have to go for another 10 years. I would love to go on an all-inclusive vacation actually, and Alex turns 40 next year. So maybe that is something we have to plan for. I think it'd be lovely to do a drive to the West Coast, maybe to like Vancouver Island. I am dying to see the ocean. But yeah, as of now, 2026, we don't have any major trips. It's just really hard with 2 young kids. And I would actually love to do a trip back home to Toronto. So I think that might be our main travel plan for the year. Right, that wraps it up. Thank you so much for sending in your questions. I actually have a lot more subscribers than I did last time I did a Q&A, so I'm very thankful for that. Thank you so much for watching and for supporting this channel. I hope to make more YouTube videos in 2026. So if you're looking forward to that, please subscribe. I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye!